We did it. I launched FrameSwap last Friday and it went pretty well. So in this video, I'm going to talk about how the launch went. I'm even going to show you the frame. I'm going to show you kind of the couple steps of how the frame works. And then at the end of the video, we're going to talk about what are some of the next steps with FrameSwap, some different ideas I have of how I can take this to the next level, or maybe like some problems with it that I see that could maybe change how I see working on this in the future. So hopefully this will be interesting because this kind of brings this experiment to, in some ways, the close of like, I built this thing, made the MVP, launched it. And so if you didn't see the other videos in the series, go check those out on the channel where I kind of built this FrameSwap frame and tried to make this happen. So yeah, let's first show you what this frame is. So you can see here, this is the frame on FrameSwap. On Farcaster. So Farcaster is like Twitter again. And so you can make posts, and with a frame, you can kind of add like a mini app within your post. And so this is the frame I made that allows you to easily buy this coin called Degen that the Farcaster community is, really into. So the first time you use this, you like have to sign a transaction to give some allowance to my smart contract. And I've already done that. And so now it shows my wallet here is connected. It shows my balance of USD and my balance of Degen. And it's really pretty simple. Like all I do is I want to buy $25 of Degen. Then it shows me I'm going to pay that in USDC, and then I'm going to receive this much Degen. Click confirm swap. And behind the scenes, it's actually doing the swap. And then it gives me a success. So this is what I think is, that was pretty like fast, right? Like that was pretty slick. And I think this is what's pretty cool about frames and what you can do, because it's connected to the state of the user. Like it knows who's interacting with it, and I can know what their wallet's address is because it's all connected to part of their Farcaster account. And so you can create really cool experiences like this. And so Farcaster launched transactions Friday, and I used the transactions in this frame. And so I was one of the first frames to launch with transactions, which was pretty cool to be one of the first to do that. And so yeah, I feel like it went pretty well. I posted this a couple times. So like this got 32 likes, got a decent amount of attention. I had another post probably on my profile that got more attention, at least. Yeah, right here. This got 54 likes. This is when I first posted it. So I feel like it went pretty well. Pretty happy with, I had some pretty good feedback. Let's see if we could see. Like this guy says, incredible, took less than a minute and didn't have to leave the page. This is great, but it's not working for me. So some people did have some issues, and I had to fix a thing or two. I had to fix a couple bugs. So people thought that this was a pretty cool experience, and just really ease of use. Some people were like, oh, this is the future of swapping. So I got some really good feedback, and that was very motivating and exciting. If we look at the contract here, this is the actual transactions. So we had 27 people swap and actually make a swap. And I had a little bit of fees, so I made a little bit of money from that. So that was kind of cool. So, and this was in one day, having 27 people swap and stuff. So I was pretty happy with the results. This is pretty cool that this kind of worked. And so now let's get into what are the potential problems and where do I think I want to go with this next. So one of the problems is when someone's swapping, they're kind of oh, I want to swap. I'm going to, what they're used to is just going to a website and then swapping right there. It's just always they know where they can find it. It's easy to get to. The problems with frames right now is that it's kind of just something that appears in your feed. So you're on this home feed, and then all of a sudden you'll see a post that's oh, this is a frame, I'm going to interact with it. And so if you're wanting to come back and swap, it's just hard to go back and find a frame that you're wanting to interact with more than once. And so it's for a lot of people, they're probably I don't even know how to find the FrameSwap frame anymore. Where did it go? What I've tried to do is I do have this FrameSwap channel that people can click on, and then this frame for swapping is just pinned at the top, so they can always come back to this channel and find it. So that's kind of one solution, but I think even then, people are not going to know how to do that. They're not going to know where to find it. Maybe they're not in the FrameSwap channel. I only have 82 followers of the FrameSwap channel right now. So I think that's kind of one of the main problems, is like swapping is something people come back to often, and it's harder to come back and find this than it is to just like go to a URL like Uniswap or something like that you are very familiar with. So I think that's one problem. Second problem is a day later, someone else on Farcaster launched a swapping frame, and they even called it kind of like FrameSwap because it is kind of an obvious name, I guess. And so Greg, I love Greg. He's awesome. He's also like one of the biggest accounts on Farcaster. Like he has 150K followers. So like he's a pretty like one of the biggest builders and creators on Farcaster. So he made kind of the same frame. And as you can see, he got almost 500 likes. Like he got a lot of likes. It's also like a very good frame, a good experience for buying degen as well, different coins. And so I'm not like upset that he did this or anything, but I think what it did show me is that this isn't something that has like an easy moat around it. Like making a kind of a simple frame that swaps, I think is decently like other people can replicate it very easily. Also, it's using like an API that makes swapping really easy. Like I built like a custom smart contract where he's using an API that does swapping for you. So like there's just easier ways to make swapping. And so I could imagine, like I see in the future, like every token, every project's going to kind of just make their own frame. Like they might as well for swapping their token because they're incentivized to. And so I think it's going to be something that's hard to build a moat around, especially when like I said, like it's hard for people to find it. So I think those are a couple problems. So kind of where I'm thinking I could take this into the future. One, I'm not sure if it's worth it. Like how much time should I really spend on this? I think I've been thinking like my main business is Poolfish, so I definitely need to like focus more of my time there. Maybe this becomes like a little part-time fun kind of side project or something, just doing it for fun. Because I don't know how much potential there is to really make it into a business. But I think what I really need to do, like, so some of my ideas are around how to leverage the social feed, social interactions to have swapping be a part of that. And so what I mean is like the value of Farcaster and having a frame in it is that there's all these accounts of users, of real people that have an identity on Farcaster, and those people interacting with each other is, I think, what make it interesting. It's like a social network, right? Like it's a social graph of people that know each other. There's all those connections. So how can you leverage that within a frame of swapping? And so kind of have some different ideas around like how to kind of gamify the swapping kind of stuff and make it more of a social fun kind of game of people interacting with each other. So I think like a simple way of doing that would be just adding like a leaderboard where people can kind of show that they have kind of swapped the most into degen, and they're kind of like a degen maxi or you know, kind of make it a little bit of competition. Or you can make it a competition between channels where it's like, all right, each channel is a team, and those group people together are kind of fighting to try to, as a group, swap the most and get on the leaderboard. So those are kind of like simple little games that I think could make it more interesting. And the other thing that helps fix is like getting people incentivized to share the frame and get other people to join in on it with them. And that's how it could kind of grow and have a little bit of like network effects and virality. Then I think the other thing that's even more interesting that could make a lot of sense is turn it into kind of like a game of people kind of tracking their profit and loss. So if I made the frame be able to track someone's profit and loss whenever they're swapping in and out of tokens, and then that's kind of the leaderboard metric, is like how much money have people made swapping and buying different tokens and investing, and what's their profit and loss, and then that's the game of people kind of competing against each other. And I think that could be more interesting, because then it's like I could have frames that kind of show people's status of their P&L. It's something that maybe they'd want to share more, and kind of have little games of two people competing against each other that could be kind of fun, where it's like maybe for a week, two people are competing to see who's going to get the better P&L. And so kind of like gamifying it like that. I think that could be interesting and kind of use that social graph a lot more within this swapping. It also kind of differentiates it from the other, you know, kind of frames of just people swapping and stuff like that. So those are some ideas. If I, you know, build more and do some more, I'll share it on these videos. But curious what you guys think about that. Reply on the FrameSwap channel in Farcaster, or reply on the YouTube video here. And thanks for following along, and I hope you enjoyed this series. See ya.